You are listening to 389 Country Internet Radio. The views and opinions expressed on the Morning Buzz are not necessarily those of 389 Country advertisers, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, or Google Podcasts.
But they should be.
This is the Morning Buzz.
Whoa, wait a minute there, Richard. Whoa, what's going on? Good morning, buzzers. Oh, what a day to be alive. It's your buddy Trav on the radio. Thanks so much for tuning in to the Morning Buzz here on a Friday. So that kind of thing doesn't bother me on a Friday. On a Monday, it would make me mad. Friday, who cares? Now, if you're listening to the podcast version, you have no idea what I'm talking about, so I'll tell you. I had the big intro to intro me, and as I unmuted my mic to say, good morning, buzzers. Well, the morning devotion started playing, and then the Morning Buzz ID played as I was trying to talk. Anyway, thank you for listening. Happy Friday to you. It's going to be a good day. I can already tell. Hope your Thursday was great, but maybe your Friday will be better. Friday's always easier to help you have a better day, and I'm going to try. On today's show, we will, of course, have the Scotsman song to officially kick off your weekend. Also, Friday Funny and chaotic news from around the world, including Florida man rides again. I'll tell you all about that. And the crazy news story of the day. Also, coming up on today's show, political chaos, including the Pelosi Investment Firm. They are never wrong. I'll tell you about that. And I choose not to run. Is Joe doomed? We'll look into that. All that and much more over the course of the next 3 hours. But you know that in order to do things right, we have to officially start your day. And we do that by letting our old rooster Doug get you going. Doug, for the final time this week, sir, it's your turn. Today is Friday. It is December the 15th, 2023, the year of our Lord. It's Bill of Rights Day. Please celebrate. Read your Bill of Rights. Understand what your rights are. Understand that they are unalienable. Understand that they are God-given. Understand that they should not be taken away from an overzealous government. Stay tuned. I'm in a mood. It's also National Cat Herders Day. I didn't even know that was a thing. That's pretty much every day of my life. I feel like I'm trying to herd cats. It's International Tea Day, National Cupcake Day. Will you celebrate? National Gingerbread Latte Day, and it's National Lemon Cupcake Day. So 2 birds, 1 stone. It's also National Ugly Christmas Sweater Day and National Wear Your Pearls Day. Now imagine if you celebrated both. Here you are in an ugly sweater with pearls. I love it. On this day in history, in 1612, German astronomer Simon Marius is the first to observe the Andromeda galaxy through a telescope. How did he know what he was looking at? In 1791, the U.S. Bill of Rights ratified when Virginia gives its approval, becomes Amendments 1 through 10 of the U.S. Constitution. In 1840, Napoleon Bonaparte receives a French state funeral in Paris 19 years after his death. Let's see. In 1973, American Psychiatric Association declares homosexuality is not a mental illness. So up until that point, it was considered. And now, transgender is not. 1939, on this day in entertainment, Gone with the Wind, starring Clark Gable and Vivian Leigh, premieres in Atlanta. It was the best picture in 1940. Inflation Not Adjusted, the highest grossing film of all time. Shouldn't that be if it is adjusted? Anyway, and today in music, in 1959, one of the all-time greatest country songs is released by Johnny Cash, Folsom Prison Blues. Wow. It was Billboard's Song of the Year in 1968. Now, that's crazy. He released it in 55, and 13 years later, it was the Song of the Year. Just goes to show, hang in there. You never know where you might go. I feel like I'm writing a Dr. Seuss book. Now I know where we're going. We're going to weather, brought to you as always by our friends at North Georgia Sign and Apparel. A balmy 26 degrees this morning in downtown Hayesville, mid-20s all around the tri-state. Frost on the pumpkins again. For today, though, pleasant with plenty of sunshine. Beneficial rain this weekend will come at the risk of flooding. Make sure to keep a check on your weather report. You can get the AccuWeather report. I think it's AccuWeather at 389country.com. Just click weather. For tonight, a low of 31. Tomorrow, another beautiful day. Partly sunny skies with a high of 57. Hey, I don't think I gave you the high today. 62, y'all. Spring has sprung. For Saturday night, a low of 45. And then Sunday, rain, beneficial rain, may come at the risk of localized flooding. High of 57 and a low of 34 on Sunday night. And then taking a peek at Monday, because we have to. 46 for the high, cloudy, breezy, and cooler temps with a couple of showers. 85% chance of rain on Monday. A low of 18. Now, wait a minute. Moisture and 18 degrees. Could get wild. We'll see. We'll talk more about it Monday. And with that, we have officially started your day. Brought to you today, the show is, by 389 Country. How about that? I love it when those people support this show.
Hey, can you hear me? So can potential customers. 389 Country has partnership packages for any size business and any budget. We want to help you get your name out there without breaking the bank. We offer audio, display, and video opportunities. Email us at 389country@gmail.com and let us start working on your ad campaign today.
Welcome back, buzzers. It is indeed Friday, and you know what that means here on the Morning Buzz. The opossum gets us rolling. Finally, Friday. Sing along with it. If you don't know it, just make it up. No one cares. And if you dance good enough, we won't be paying attention to your singing anyway. George Jones there, kicking things off and making us realize it is indeed finally Friday. Let's take a look at the 411 for the 389, shall we? News from overnight. The European Union agreed yesterday to begin talks with Ukraine and Moldova on bringing the countries into the 27-member organization. Ukraine applied for membership last February, 4 days after Russia's initial invasion. And staying on the international level, European officials said yesterday that they had detained 4 men, 3 in Germany and 1 in the Netherlands, on suspicion of plotting terror attacks on Jewish sites across Europe. Suspects are believed to be members of Hamas. Authorities said one person had been tasked with locating a stockpile of weapons that had been secretly stored in the past. Authorities said that there was not a direct link with the Israel-Hamas war, as their investigation preceded Hamas's October 7th attack in southern Israel. Now, what does that tell us? That October 7th was just step one. And switching gears to sports, college volleyball, as a matter of fact. Number 1, Nebraska will face defending national champions Texas in the NCAA Women's Volleyball National Championship Sunday at 3 p.m. on ABC. Texas, who has won 4 titles, will be led by standouts Madison Skinner, the Big 12 Player of the Year, and middle blocker Asija O'Neal. 5-time champion Huskers, who have a record of 32-1, whose only loss this season was to Wisconsin, are led by captains Merritt Beeson and Lexi Rodriguez. So there's been a boom lately in college volleyball, and we'll sit down on the old couch sometimes and watch it. College volleyball, man, it's legit. And that is a look at the 411 for the 389. Now, this morning when the old alarm hit, like it rattled me to my bones. I know we had a similar story yesterday, but today it was like, I don't know if I can make it through the day. And I would like to just clock out right now. And I know some of you, most of you probably, you've not made it to work yet. And so I'm just going to go ahead and tell you, don't go to work. Why? Because we're going to go ahead and officially kick off your weekend, because it is Friday, and not a Friday goes by on the Morning Buzz that we don't celebrate with the Scotsman song. Lad, I don't know where you've been, but I see you won first prize. The Scotsman song, everybody. That's right. Right out of the gate this morning. No need to even go to work. We have started the weekend. But if you feel the need that you must head out to the office, to the job site, to the store, heck, maybe even a school somewhere. At some point today, dear friends, you're going to find yourself in the presence of those who make it abundantly clear to you that they need to be educated on the things of this world. And when that moment happens, dear friends, I want you to look them dead in the eye and say, losers, I bet I'm smarter than you and I can prove it. And then hit them with this. Did you know colorblind people have better night vision? It's true. It's true. Since colorblind people perceive colors differently, they can see camouflage colors that can't be detected by regular eyes. Now, as being in the colorblind community myself, I would say this is true to an extent. You do have better night vision when you're colorblind, when you're younger. But now that I'm older, well, if it's dark, I can see better. But like if headlights are coming, which I don't think that has anything to do with colorblind. But anyway, I'm Batman. I can see in the dark. And then after you have left them wowed, nay, slack-jawed with your superior knowledge, I want you to hit them with the old 1-2 punch. Look at them again and say, not only am I smarter than you losers, I am funnier too. And then lay this on them. An elderly lady was stopped to pull into a parking space when a young man in his new red Mercedes went around her and parked in the space she was waiting for. The little old lady was so upset that she went up to the man and said, I was going to park there. The man said, that's what you can do when you're young and bright. Well, this really upset the lady even more. So she got in her car and backed it up. And then she stomped on the gas and plowed right through his Mercedes. The young man ran back to his car and asked, what did you do that for? The little old lady smiled and told him, that's what you can do when you're old and rich. Here's Miranda Lambert, fastest girl in town. You go, Granny. Welcome back, Buzzers. Your buddy Trav here, and it is time for sports. We begin with a little college basketball. Well, previewing college basketball. Western Carolina men's basketball returns to action on Saturday. That's tomorrow in the afternoon as the Catamounts travel to USC Upstate. That's USC South Carolina, not Cali. Upstate, opening a brief 2-game non-conference road swing. Tip-off from the G.B. Hodge Center scheduled for 4:30 tomorrow, and you will be able to watch it on ESPN+. Now, sorry, I'm all choked up. Tonight, you can watch high school basketball in the Hive. And for the first time, all 4 teams will be competing tonight as Swain County rolls into Hayesville for the first conference matchup of the season. The action will begin at 4 p.m. with the JV Lady Yellow Jackets as they tip off. It'll be their first game of the season. JV boys will follow at 5. Varsity girls scheduled for 6 o'clock, and the varsity boys scheduled for 7:30. Keep in mind, the only tip-off time that is set in stone is the first one, and the others depends on how the previous games go. So that's roughly when they'll start. So to make sure you don't miss anything, just come out to the Hive at 4 o'clock and watch it all. You only have to pay one price, and you get 4 games. I mean, what else you going to do on a Friday night? It's going to be cold. So come on out. And your old buddy Trav, they've conned me into it again. I'll be providing the soundtrack to the games. So I'll try my best to keep you happy no matter what's going on the court. Win or lose, go Jackets. And that ends our look at sports. Sports brought to you as always by the fine folks at the Clay County Recreation Center.
Looking for a way to become more active? Check out the Clay County Recreation Center. From walking and biking trails to a workout room to a state-of-the-art pickleball court, the Rec Center has something for all levels of physical activity. They even have an airfield for RC pilots. And don't forget about all the sports leagues for the kids. Visit the center at 333 Ballpark Drive in Hayesville or call 828-389-0368.
Time now for the Bozo News of the day. And y'all, today, this should be the law. If you appear on Bozo News of the day, you shouldn't be able to vote, which I think most of these people end up as felons anyway. So, there's that. Anyway, today we head to Chicago, as some of you say. Chicago, Illinois, where Ruben Zavala had been casing a muffler shop for a while and decided it looked like a pretty good place to rob. See, I don't even have this mindset. Like, What, he just rolled by one day and saw a muffler shop and said, that's it. My dreams have come true. I'm gonna rob that muffler joint and I'll be set for life. Anyway, he burst in, flashed a gun, and demanded that they empty the safe. Well, fine, except for one little problem. The manager is the only person who can open the safe, and he wasn't there. So, what did our bozo do? Well, he thought quick on his feet. Thinking fast, our bozo came up with what seemed to be a reasonable solution. Y'all, you're not ready for how dumb this idiot was. He handed him a piece of paper and said, here's my phone number. Just call me when the manager comes in and I'll drop by and pick up my money. Sure, thank you. Have a nice day, buddy. We'll be in touch. Now, the staff did indeed place a call to the cops. He was busted. Listen, somebody this stupid deserves to be horsewhipped on the town square with his mama watching. How dumb can you be? I realize that if you choose a life of crime, that elevator's not going all the way to the top. Anyway, but I don't think this guy had a chance of working his way into being, a boss in the mob. I tell you what, I'm just going to give y'all my phone number. When the manager's here, give me a call, and I'll come rob you again. How about that, huh? Just add me on Facebook. Yeah. Well, send me a friend request. We'll get this thing done. If this is your family, some of your family members, you need to just find a new family.
Bailey Zimmerman, house on fire. Well, let me tell you, some people, I shouldn't even have to, go over this kind of stuff. Decency should be lumped right in there with common sense. However, it ain't. Listen. So here's some unspoken rules in society that everyone should know. All right. Here's some examples. And if you have one, go ahead and fire it my way. 389country@gmail.com or 389country.com. Click the chat bubble. Anyway, pay attention. If someone is reading, they don't want to talk. I mean, that should be pretty apparent. You shouldn't look over, that person is in the middle of To Kill a Mockingbird. I think they're wanting to have a chat about the weather. No, leave them alone. Also, if someone has both earbuds in, they don't want to talk. Again, seems obvious to me. Oh, that person's wearing earbuds or headphones. I have a pair of headphones, Bluetooth headphones, that I love, right? I love them better than the earbuds because they also cancel out the sound around me. But even though I have them on, sometimes people will say something and you like pull one up, you're like, what? And they'll say, oh, okay. And you drop it back and then they start talking again, right? And then finally you just take them off and they say, oh, I'm sorry. It's too late now. Anyway, also common sense and common decency. Wait for people to exit the elevator before you get on. I mean, that just makes sense, right? Let it empty out, and then we'll get in. Not, I'm coming in, you're coming out. That makes no sense. And this one, just decency for all of us. Return your shopping cart. Return your shopping cart. Or for those of us who are local, your buggy. Put your buggy up. Don't just leave it, for the wind to carry and hit somebody's car door. Or run over Meemaw as she's trying to put her loaf of bread and gallon of milk in her car. I mean, is it really? You've gone into a store and you've walked around all those aisles, right? But you're going to tell me that you just can't make it to the little shopping cart corral thing. Can't do it. Well, I put it up on the curb, or I have seen them against it, like people parked on facing the shopping cart thing, and they just push it against it instead of just walking it around. Just be good people, okay? It's not like we're asking you to make a house payment for somebody. Just put your buggy up. Come on. It's Fun Zone Friday. I got to lighten up, and I think this will help. Here's Chris Ledoux, Cadillac Ranch. Thanks for listening to the Morning Buzz. Happy Friday, y'all. Chase Rice with Florida Georgia Line. That's going to do it for hour number 1, but don't you fret. We still have 2 full hours to go. Hour number 2, political chaos from around the world. I'll be back in 3 minutes. Thanks for listening to the Morning Buzz. Welcome back, Buzzers. Your buddy Trav on the radio. Happy Friday to you. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Morning Buzz. Looking out the old studio window, blue skies looking back at me. I hope you're having a great Friday morning as we still have 2 full hours of the Morning Buzz. Coming up in this hour, political chaos from around the world, including, is Joe doomed? How he could perform poorly right out of the gate. I'll tell you that. And Trump looking good. I'll tell you more about that. And also, we got Nancy Pelosi to talk about. Usually on Fridays in this hour, we connect to Nashville with Shannon McCombs, and she tells us what's happening in Music City. Shannon took the day off today, so I'll tell you what's happening in Music City. Country music and bachelorette parties. That's pretty much it. And hockey every now and then. But as we do every day in hour 2, we begin this hour by connecting with Jesus, because you know we need Jesus before we talk politics. Today's 389 Country Christmas gospel song comes to us from Carrie Underwood. Welcome back, Buzzers. Your buddy Trav on the radio on a Friday. Y'all, this week, it's been a weird week. In some ways it feels like it flew by, but in other ways it's like, I don't know if it just feels like it's flown by because I think it's been 2 weeks, but it's actually just been 1. Does that make any sense? Probably not. And since we are not making sense, let's check in with Joe. President Biden's failure to register for the New Hampshire primary ballot has opened the door to an embarrassment that could reverberate through the rest of the 2024 race. At least that's according to a political strategist. 81-year-old incumbent will not be an official participant in the January 23rd Granite State contest in deference to the Democratic National Committee's new calendar, which has South Carolina as the first primary on February 6th. But New Hampshire, their state law requires that it hold its primary at least 1 week before any other state. So it doesn't matter when South Carolina has theirs. State law, New Hampshire will have their primary before. But the Democratic National Convention, the committee, the party, they're not recognizing New Hampshire. So they're not even putting Joe on it. So then you're going to have these others that are running, all right? So let me tell you what this strategist says. It's not a great situation because it leaves a vacuum and provides opportunities for mischief. This was according to Democratic strategist Brad Bannon. He told the New York Post, arguing that it would hurt the president if rivals Dean Phillips or self-help author come on, Trav, you sound like Joe. Marianne Williamson got a significant vote share, even if they don't finish first. He says it will be embarrassing to the president if he did not win. So Biden won't be appearing on the New Hampshire primary ballot after a disagreement between the DNC and the state over the calendar. So now Democrats are scrambling to publicize a Biden write-in campaign before January 23rd to boost his chances of defeating a dark horse candidate. You know, if you're not on the ballot, you're going to have a hard time winning. If the write-in campaign doesn't prove successful, Biden's performance in New Hampshire could be a repeat of a 1968 event when then-President Lyndon B. Johnson announced he would not seek another term after a poor showing in the New Hampshire primary. So it's not going to happen. I'm telling you, the reason that Joe hangs it up will be because of this mess with Hunter. He'll pardon Hunter. He'll pardon himself. And then folks, I've done my time. I'm going to go home and enjoy my wife and my kids and my grandkids, all except that one that we don't claim, the one. So, I mean, think about it. If you're a Democrat, and you're in New Hampshire, think about it. It's like, they're not even worth putting Joe on the ballot. What? I talked to a good friend of mine who's a Democrat. I mean, hardcore. And we were talking about the mess in Florida where, they're not going to have a primary. They're just going to tell Democrats, you have to vote for Joe in the general. And now this, and he's really, really upset with his party leadership. As well he should be. I mean, and the party that's always yelling, democracy, democracy, they're the ones that saying, nah, you can't have any say-so in who you're voting for. Ain't it grand? Zach Bryan, something in the orange. Well, from something in the orange to someone who should be wearing orange. Former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and her husband's stock portfolio, easy for me to say, has seen significant growth in 2023, showing a reported 50% return. Yeah, Pelosi's stock portfolio, I can't say it this morning, has grown by 50% in a single year, y'all. Tools tracking congressional trading activity have shown impressive gains, raising suspicions of potential insider trading. How dare you? How dare you? I cannot believe it. I am shocked. I am appalled. Pelosi's investments in companies such as Nvidia, Microsoft, and Apple have yielded substantial profits. Let's see here. She put out on Twitter, breaking, the DOJ has officially opened up a lawsuit against Google to break up its ad technology monopoly. Oh, this is her stock tracker. Pelosi sold $3 million worth of Google just 4 weeks ago. So, the DOJ is going to sue Google. That's going to cause stock to dive. I'm going to sell my Google stock. It's wild, isn't it, how her and her husband have the perfect timing. The timing of some of her stock sales has sparked allegations of insider trading, particularly the one that we just talked about, the sale of Google stock. And a separate tool, which is dedicated to tracking Nancy Pelosi's investments, reveals her portfolio has returned a remarkable 50% in just the last 12 months, vastly outperforming the 17% gains of the benchmark S&P 500 index of America's top companies. So, best of the best, right? The average is 17% gain. Nancy, 50%. It's legit. Let's see here. James Kardotsky, the CEO of Quiver Quantitative, said, you can almost certainly see instances where there seems to be people acting on information that they may have been receiving in committee meetings or may have been receiving just based on the nature of their job. Now, these actions have led to calls for legislation prohibiting members of Congress from extensive trading while in office. Yeah, but all they're going to do is have a family member do their bidding for them. I'm going to have to share this little story. This chaps my rump, but it's supposed to be Fun Zone Friday. So, but I mean, we can't just ignore this. We can't just bury our heads in the sand. We can't just say, well, it's politics. No, we've got to find some way. I mean, it's obvious. I don't know how many stories I've covered like this where her or her husband sold stock and just a few days later the company crashes because of something that the government did to them. And yet she just,
no, there is no insider trading. No, I can't believe you would even accuse me of that, okay?
She's got her face pulled so tight she could reach over her shoulder to wipe. Welcome back, Buzzers. Your buddy Trav here with you. And in case you missed it, Shannon McComb's off today, so we will not be connecting with Nashville. But since this little time slot is open, I think it's a good time for the Friday Funny. And today we stay in the Christmas theme with comedy. And it's a comedy Christmas classic. Here is Jeff Foxworthy with his 12 Redneck Days of Christmas. Let's check in on Donnie T, shall we? I'm worried about Donnie T. Okay, well, maybe not. Despite all of the trials and accusations and charges and everything, at this point, on December the 15th, 2023, things are looking good for Donald Trump. Now, Trump has claimed repeatedly that he would achieve a resolution to Russia's war against Ukraine within 24 hours if he were reelected. He also said that he would allow Russia to seize part of Ukraine and criticize the extent of U.S. military support for Ukraine. So, now Joe, he officially announced in April. And we talk about that all the time. But Europe is starting to fear that the United States might withdraw from NATO if Donald Trump wins in 24, which would destroy the Atlantic Alliance. Now, do you want to know why all of these treaties and all of these allegiances and all of these groups like NATO and the United Nations, do you want to know why it scares them that the U.S. would leave? Who do you think funds all this stuff? It's us. We pay for everything. Oh, well, listen, these other countries may contribute a little, but overall, we're the ones that keeps all of these things rolling. And they don't want to lose the cash cow. So Trump, now, for the first time, he has outpaced Biden in pre-election ratings. This is according to the Wall Street Journal on December the 9th. So what, 4 days ago? So listen to this from the story. While Trump has relatively few supporters, estimated at 25 to 35% of the population, Modal, and they don't give Modal's name. I don't know if it's an organization or what. No, it's not, because they're quoted here. So we don't know Modal's first name, but apparently it's a political science professor. Modal noted that the forecast predicting his victory inspired not only his base but also other Republicans, exacerbating polarization between Republicans and Democrats. Here's what they said. Here's what Modal said. A month ago, he was only getting close to Biden himself, but now it seems he could win. Even everyone has started talking about Trump's inevitable victory. I don't know if it's inevitable, but he does lead in 7 key battleground states. So if things keep trending the way they are, Trump's going to continue to go up and Biden's going to continue to go down. And either something drastic has to happen or the Democrats have to replace Biden. And not with Kamala, not with Hillary. It's got to be Newsom. He's the only one that I feel like the Democrat base would actually be excited about. So it's looking more and more like that's going to happen. And when it does happen, R.A., right again, told you so. Little Don Williams. It's a good Don Williams day. Well, earlier in the week, I didn't get to this story. I don't think. I meant to, but I didn't get to it. Satanists, they put up a display in the Iowa state capitol saying that if you can have a Christmas display, that you could also have satanic display. And so, of course, the government of Iowa caved, and shocker, right? Well, here's an update. This from The Blaze. A Christian veteran has torn down and beheaded the Satanic Temple statue in the Iowa state capitol. Now, this thing, it had a human mannequin body with a goat head, a fake goat head, you know. They wanted to put a real one on it, but the lawmaker said, no, that's just too far. So Michael Cassidy, he's a devout Christian and former military officer. He just tore it down. Now, look, I know it's not nice, and I'm not out here saying that breaking the law is always a good thing to do. And in a decent society, we wouldn't have to topple goat devil statues. But we live in a society where goat devil statues are sitting in Capitol buildings, and pastors defended it, by the way. Now, some of you may say, how is this different than like an ISIS terrorist grouper? Well, for one thing, ISIS doesn't, just topple statues. They tend to behead people, so it's not like that. Cassidy said, from the story, Cassidy said in comments exclusively provided to the Sentinel that he destroyed the shrine on Thursday in order to awaken Christians to the anti-Christian acts promoted by our government. He said the world may tell Christians to submissively accept the legitimization of Satan, but none of the founders would have considered government sanction of satanic altars inside Capitol buildings as protected by the First Amendment. Cassidy told the Sentinel, anti-Christian values have steadily been mainstream more and more in recent decades, and Christians have largely acted like the proverbial frog in the boiling pot of water. Cassidy turned himself in to police officers present in the Iowa Capitol, so I guess he destroyed it and walked over to them, and they confirmed that the Satanic Temple of Iowa desires to press charges. The Sentinel obtained a complaint and affidavit which said Cassidy was charged with fourth-degree criminal mischief. He said, I saw this blasphemous statue and was outraged. My conscience is held captive to the word of God, not to bureaucratic decree, and so I acted. So, there you go. Here's the thing. The reason that the forefathers weren't more specific about freedom of speech and the church and state thing, even though that one's pretty specific when you read it correctly, is because they didn't they didn't foresee. Now, give them credit; they saw into the future quite a bit, but they didn't foresee our society just in such a sad shape that we wouldn't know that. No, it didn't mean that it was okay to put up satanic displays in our Capitol buildings. They thought that, well, surely everybody will have enough common sense to figure that one out. You give us way too much credit there, forefathers. Well, we got an update. You remember I was telling you the other day about Turkish parliament member Hasan Bitmez, and he collapsed seconds after a speech against Israel, saying how Israel needs to change their ways and they will not escape the wrath of Allah. And then he collapsed. Remember? And they thought it was cardiac arrest, and they took him to the hospital and everything. Well, I got an update. He died. Apparently, 2 main arteries in his heart were completely blocked. His heart stopped beating, then he was resuscitated in Parliament and transferred within 20 minutes to a hospital where medical machinery kept him alive, Health Minister Fahrettin Koca had said on Tuesday. In the end, though, the doctors could not save him and Bitmez passed away. Members of the AK party, which Turkey's President Erdogan belongs to, called the parliament member's death God's wrath, thus invoking God's wrath on a guy who invoked God's wrath. Maybe just let it cool off for just a second, right? So both of these guys are referring to Allah and not the God of Israel, which is an important distinction here, all right? I guess Erdogan's party wasn't happy that Bitmez was also criticizing them during his rant. Here's what he said in his speech. He said, you allow ships to go to Israel and you shamelessly call it trade. You are Israel's accomplice. And this is after he placed a banner on the podium reading, Murder Israel. You have the blood of the Palestinians on your hands. You are collaborators. You contribute to every bomb Israel drops on Gaza. Now, how's that? I thought we did. So, I mean, God showed up, right? The other day when we did this story, the song that followed was Then God Whispered Your Name. But today, it's just a little news update, and we're moving on. We're moving on from this guy who's yelling and screaming about the wrath of Allah to the point he had a heart attack, and we're moving on to celebrate Christmas, the holiday that we recognize the birth of Jesus Christ. Oh, and you heathens recognize Santa Claus. Waylon Jennings, he's headed to Hazard County, the theme from the Dukes of Hazzard, also known as Good Old Boys. It's going to do it for hour number 2, but don't you fret, dear friends. I'll be right back. We'll dive into chaotic news from around the world, including the crazy news story of the day. And Florida man makes it 3 days in a row on the show. Also, the BK Concrete Racing Report. So stay tuned. I'll be back in 3 minutes. Thanks for listening to The Morning Buzz. Welcome back, Buzzers. Your buddy Trav on the radio. Thanks so much for tuning in to The Morning Buzz. I was having to deal with a thing on our 389 Country Facebook page. We've got the game poster up for tonight, and there's these bots that just constantly just inundate the comment section with false links to get you to click on to try to watch the game, and it's a scam. And then the next thing you know, you're on Facebook saying, don't accept a new friend request from me, I've been hacked. Which really, you've not been hacked. You've been cloned. But anyway, so don't click on those. But I'm trying to find a way just to keep them from being able to comment because Facebook won't help us out. Anyway, I digress. Welcome to Hour 3 when we take a look at chaotic news from around the world. Coming up in this hour, along with the crazy news story of the day, we're going to hear from Florida man once again. And it's a dandy. He really let himself, well, just stay tuned is all I got to say. And also, how long would you wait for a hamburger? I'll tell you about some people who spent the day in line. And coming up here in just a couple of minutes, I'm going to tell you how this one guy used an ancient law to make money. I'll tell you all about that. But first, it is 9 o'clock, and we kick off the 9 o'clock hour with our 90s at 9. Today, the spotlight shines on Confederate Railroad. Confederate Railroad, trashy women. All right, so I know the real estate market's crazy, and even in England, but this story feels like a bit much. Just bear with me here. A man in the UK who took over a retiree's empty home in London and gained legal ownership of it under a quirky ancient Roman law, has sold the property for a profit, local media reports. A British construction worker identified as Keith Best, sounds like a wrestler name, Keith Best. He spotted an empty 3-bedroom, semi-detached home in London's Newbury Park back in 1997 while working a construction job nearby. He began renovating the property and ultimately moved his family into the home in 2012. Now, that's a pretty big gap there. He apparently, the wife this man has to be fantastic because she apparently put up with a lot from 1997 to 2012. Well, apparently it all worked out in the end, though, at least for the Best family. It had originally belonged to another homeowner, Colin Curtis, who had more or less abandoned it, just left it. Curtis, who died at age 80 in 2018, lived at the property with his mom, Doris, until her death in the 1980s, then stayed there until 96 before moving out. He continued to pay property taxes on the home, even though he rarely ever visited. Well, he must not have visited at all, or he would have known there's somebody living in the house, or at least there's somebody working on the house. In 1997, Keith saw the property was empty and decided to make it his own, citing the alleged Roman law that allows someone in possession of a good without title to become the lawful proprietor if the original owner didn't show up after some time. So apparently British judges feel differently, though. Best won ownership of the home and lived in it for years with his family until Curtis or someone else finally noticed it and took him to court. 2014, however, a judge said that because issues of squatters are civil, not criminal cases, and Best had lived there for at least 10 years without any action on the part of Curtis to remove him, the home was now legally his. In addition to this, Curtis had never applied to become the administrator of his mother's will, which had left the home to him. And when he eventually sold it, he made quite a lot of money here, talking about Best, not Curtis. The home was worth roughly £400,000 when Best took over the property. He sold the home for £540,000, the equivalent of roughly $682,000, meaning he made a profit of roughly $177,000. So maybe I'm misunderstanding this, but wouldn't Best profit actually be the total of value of the house? If he didn't pay for it at all, then his profit wasn't $177,000. It was the full $682,000, right? I mean, minus his expenses to improve it. Yeah, it doesn't matter what it was worth. He got it for nothing. So I don't know. Either way, he made a bundle, but he didn't win any favors with the neighbors who apparently felt some sympathy for the family that used to live there. But I mean, I don't know. I wonder sometimes you drive by and you see an abandoned house, and there's one not far from where I live that the woman worked hard to keep it up and keep it in good shape. But after she passed away, the family just let it grow up. No one's ever there, and I often wonder, now what happens to this? It's a shame that it's just going, it's just rotting away. Nature's taking over. So this guy, I mean, I don't know. Obviously, I don't live in London, but I'm not big on just moving into an empty house. However, I mean, people needing homes, we've got homes sitting up that are just going to waste. So, interesting story, no doubt. Well, how long would you wait for a hamburger? I mean, if I go somewhere and it's like a 30-minute wait, I question if it's worth it. These people, though, they were up for it. Would you wait in line for 8 hours just for some In-N-Out? Yeah, me neither. But to be fair, I've never had an In-N-Out burger, I don't think. So maybe I don't know what I'm missing, and maybe ignorance is bliss. I'm not kidding here. Idaho, the first In-N-Out burger opened in Idaho, and some people camped out overnight in 30-degree weather. Some sat in their cars for 8 hours in the drive-thru, but they were all served the hamburger at the end of their journey. From the story, burger lovers were so desperate to try Idaho's first In-N-Out that they waited in line up to 8 hours, with some even camping out overnight. The excitement for the California-based chain's celebrated patties, fries, and shakes was so intense that hundreds were already waiting in line at the drive-thru when it opened Tuesday at 9 a.m. much earlier than typical hours. I was going to say, I mean, I've had a burger for breakfast before. I'm not chasing a rabbit here. I'm not sure why we designate some food as breakfast items. You know, it's fine for you to have breakfast for supper, but if somebody has a cheeseburger and fries for breakfast, you are just a rebel. The demand meant it was anything but fast food, with signs soon warning those joining the massive line to expect 7 to 8 hour waits. Seriously, you guys, is this really that good? I mean, I don't know. If you've had In-N-Out, just let me know if it's worth 8 hours. I doubt it. I wouldn't wait for my favorite meal for 8 hours. And I'm not even real sure what that is, but 8 hours for a burger? It would have to come with a day's worth paycheck for me to be happy with it. Time now for the crazy news story of the day. And I begin with the headline. Y'all ready? Man blows up his apartment trying to kill cockroach with insecticide. Now, who among us hasn't been this guy? Well, I mean, besides the explosion. You know, whether it was a cockroach, a centipede, some bees, maybe some ants. We've all gone maybe a little bit overboard trying to play exterminator in our own home. But let's give it up for this guy for making us all not look bad in comparison, to what he did. I can remember being a kid and like being in the bathroom and maybe a bug, beetle or something. You see it on the wall, and I would always get hairspray. I don't know if it killed them or just made them stylish back in the 80s. From the story, the epic pest control fail was reported early Sunday in the city of Kumamoto, Japan, which is about 230 miles southwest of Hiroshima, depending on where you're from. Sometime before midnight, a 54-year-old man spotted a solitary cockroach inside his apartment in the city's Chow ward and sprayed a massive amount of insecticide to wipe out the critter. A minute later, an explosion went off, blowing out a balcony window. The unfortunate resident suffered a minor injury in the blast. I think he's pretty fortunate to only suffer a minor injury. I mean, it's a minor injury, so it's okay to laugh at this, right? So the explosion seems to be linked to the man's kotatsu, which is basically a heated table. A heated table? I kind of want one of those now that it's cold. But apparently, probably don't need one in case I get a little trigger happy with Raid the next time I spot an ant crawling across the floor. No word yet on whether the cockroach survived the explosion, though from experience, I'd guess the little guy's doing just fine and probably munching on an orange right about now. And that is today's crazy news story of the day. In honor of this story, it's George Strait with Love Bug. We had to listen to it. Johnny Cash, Folsom Prison Blues, released this day in 1955. How about that? Well, for the third day in a row, we hear from Florida man. This time, a Florida man in a stolen ambulance leads police on a chase, but then ends up literally on the front lawn of the sheriff's office. Yep, that's where he went, to the front lawn of the sheriff's office. Y'all, I mean, talk about your bozo criminal, right? I'm not sure what this guy was on, but he was definitely on something. It looks like police were assisting EMTs with a person who was in an altered state, likely on drugs, when this guy, Stanley Williams, dang it, Stanley, he just hopped right in the ambulance and put it in gear. From the story, during that encounter, the individual, identified as Stanley Williams, age 35, was able to gain access to the interior of the ambulance and drove away from the scene. The deputy pursued the stolen ambulance and relayed the information to other deputies. At some point, the ambulance struck a curb, causing damage to a tire. Now, for the record, just because Williams struck a curb doesn't mean that he's a trans man. That stuff does happen to men, too. Moving on. Williams led police on what must have been quite an interesting chase, but then something strange happened, and I'm not sure if it was on purpose or on accident. Nonetheless, back to the story. During the pursuit, deputies said Williams drove the stolen ambulance to the entrance of the Columbia County Sheriff's Office Operations Center, driving up onto the front lawn and stopped near the main entrance. So right up onto the lawn, like that has to be on purpose, right? That's Stanley just turning himself in and giving up. It has to be. I would think, but who knows? You know, people these days. I bet the police wish all criminals were this easy to take on. You know, no more than 15 steps and Stan was locked up. So he essentially did the officer's job for him. And for that, Mr. Williams, we thank you for your service, sir. Back to the story. According to deputies, there was only minor cosmetic damage to the lawn, but there was luckily no damage to the sheriff's office property. Next time, Florida man, let's just try the parking lot, okay? Let's just try the parking lot. Back to the music. Here's Kane Brown, Bury Me in Georgia. Yep. Fancy like. I guess he's just going to do it over and over. Next, Fancy Like Easter. Walker Hayes there. Well, we all know those people who they just seem unable to recognize a blessing, right? On the outside looking in, we see that they have been blessed with something, and they may not notice it, or they may even complain about it. What am I talking about? Well, barbecue. It's one of the world's great foods, right? A good smoked brisket or basically anything on the old smoker. Is there anything a better smell than meat on heat? I don't think so. But apparently one weird lady in Nashville, she doesn't agree with me. From the story, a local woman is suing Roy's Meat Service, a local meat market and barbecue restaurant located in East Nashville, claiming that the smell of grilling and smoked meats is a nuisance. The neighbor isn't happy and filed a lawsuit against the local business, alleging, among other things, that part of the restaurant encroaches on her property. Okay, now that's a problem. And that the smoke from the constant grilling is a nuisance. Castillo says in the complaint that the constant smoking of ribs, chicken, and pork affect her ability to enjoy her property, as well as negatively affects her health. Now, I would never say this lightly, but I feel like it's warranted in this case. Woman, shut your mouth. The Nashville, Tennessee resident is apparently so bothered by the smell of smoke and cooked meat that she's willing to bring a lawsuit about it. Really? Now, again, this is in Nashville, Tennessee. You know, Nashville, supposed to be one of the great barbecue cities of the world. Somebody needs to ask this poor woman, why are you here? I mean, seriously, if smoked meat bothers you that much, why on earth would you move into any mid-sized Tennessee town, let alone one of the biggest cities in Tennessee? I mean, it's practically, you know, just coated in smoke 24/7. And I'm pretty sure Roy's was probably there before you. You didn't realize, hey, I'm going to be smelling this all the time. To me, that's a selling point on your apartment or home or whatever. Now, I realize that if there's property encroachment, let's deal with that. But, you know, just enjoy it. Owner Jeff Roy, meanwhile, has apparently tried to satisfy this anti-barbecueites complaint, but to no avail. Here's from the story. I just put my foot down. That's all. I'm through. You do what you got to do. We're just a little country store here in the middle of East Nashville. We want people to feel it when they come in that it's a family-run business. That's just the way it is there, Pitmaster. You keep smoking, buddy. Be a shame for this neighbor, you know, if y'all check this Roy Meat Service out the next time you're in Nashville. I could not, dude, could you imagine? It would be like heaven. You put your clothes out to dry, and all day long your clothes, you smell like barbecue meat. You'll be the favorite person at the office. Every stray dog and cat would love you. You could probably run for mayor and win. There's got to be something more to this woman's issues, because barbecue is nobody's problem. Well, that's going to do it for the old Travanator on a Friday. Thanks so much for spending a little time with me. Don't forget to keep a check on 389country.com throughout the day for news you can use. Always new, always free, and throughout the weekend to find out how the Yellow Jackets do tonight. Keep us on. We are the perfect soundtrack to your day. Josh David coming up next. Looks like I inspired him with that Sugarland. And so stay tuned for that. Hope you guys have a great weekend. I'll be back Monday morning. We'll do it all again. Same bat time, same bat channel. Until then, remember, wrestling's real. Politicians are fake. Come on out, support the Yellow Jackets tonight, and have a great weekend. I'll see you guys Monday morning.